Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Rock Your Own Personal Brand and Become a TV Host. My name's Sam Henderson. As you probably noticed, I've got a funny accent, so if you'd like me to talk a little bit slower, I can do that for you. We are from Australia. There's a bit of an Australian contingent here today, over the last few days actually, so welcome to all the Aussies. There's plenty of us around here, and we're a pretty curious sort of a bunch, so we'll probably be asking you lots of questions along the way. Now, just to clarify, we don't live in the outback. We actually live in a large city, so I thought I'd put a picture of a city on the screen so you Americans can relate to the fact that we're not chasing koalas and riding kangaroos to work every day. Just wanted to dispel a few myths for you. I wanted to start with the concept of You Inc., looking at yourself as a brand. Now, I probably don't need to tell most of you this because most of you are probably already doing it in your blogs, in your podcasts, in your media experience, or whatever it is that you're doing. But you need to look at yourself as a personal brand. The concept of a corporate brand these days is something that many of us resist, if not detest. We want to move away from that and create our own personal brands. And by utilising technology and the internet and all the different things that we do here today at FinCon is what You Inc. is all about. So this is pretty much where I started about 12 years ago when I started my business. It was about focusing on myself as a brand, and I was actually utilising a number of American personalities that I'd seen either on the net, we still had the internet 12 years ago, or whether it was just through books, you know, people like Dina Katz, who had been around for forever, really. And one of the things that she said is to set yourself up as an expert, set yourself up as the brand, and start developing from there. So when I started my financial planning and advice firm back in 2004, that was always my strategy. It was always to become an expert, even though I wasn't necessarily an expert in what I did. But the philosophy that I had, and I've always had, is that there's never a silly question when it comes to your own money. And that's something that's permeated throughout everything that I do in the media, and everything that I've told my clients is to always ask the questions that you think might be silly. And, you know, during the GFC, the global financial crisis, as we call it, I don't know whether you referred to it as that in the US, but, you know, basically the giant financial fuck-up we had in 2008, where everybody lost a hell of a lot of money. You know, share markets dropped 50% or more. It was huge. There's so many people that were caught out. They had frozen money. They had money that was invested in real estate or investment trusts that completely disappeared. And they should have asked more questions. And that, to me, is what the essence of good financial advice is all about, is being able to explain concepts that are quite complex in simple ways. But I want to get a bit Simon Sinek on you, a little bit, start with the why, what motivates you. And this is what needs to permeate throughout all of your content and everything that you do. It also needs to relate very closely to your client base and your demographic. For me, when I was 5 years old, my father lost some money on a real estate deal. He was involved in a real estate deal that was rezoning an area from industrial to residential, and he bet the house on that deal. Now, if it had come off, he would have been a multi-gazillionaire, and we all would have been living in the largest houses and castles in the country, but it didn't. It didn't come off, and it was 1970 something or other, and there was a financial crisis that about to occur, and we got caught up in that. So we lost the house. We moved around from house to house, and one of the things that my mother always used to say when I asked for things was, "We can't afford it." So for me, one of the driving factors in becoming an advisor was to help people make much better decisions around their finances. And that's something that stayed with me throughout the financial advice experience that I've had with my clients. Now, in Australia, I specialise in an area called superannuation. It's like 401ks. It's all about retirement. Now, every year we have a federal budget, which is where there are announcements about changes to retirement plans. You know, there's several $1 trillion tied up in these things in Australia, so the government wants to get their hands on it, and they change the legislation because they want to increase the taxes that are attracted to these sorts of products. And this is very confusing for consumers, as is 401ks. You know, as we heard yesterday, the average retirement fund in America is $19,000. Those people with $19,000 at retirement can only really afford to draw out between about 4 and 6%. So about $800 a year. That's not going to be enough for retirement. So the problem in America is not only as big, it's probably bigger than what we have in Australia. Not to mention the fact that your population's 10 times the size of ours. And I went to the FPA conference in Boston last year in November or October, I think it was. And, the advisor market in America is so disparate, but it's controlled like it is in Australia by many large institutions. So the growth of the independent financial advisor presents huge opportunities, as well as it does for bloggers. Bloggers don't need and don't have the licensing requirements that financial advisors require. And that's one of the advantages, I suppose, to looking at other multimedia options for conveying your financial message, whatever it is, whether it's frugality, whether it's retirement, whether it's budgeting or what have you. But the opportunities these days are so much bigger than they ever have been. So looking at the why is really about embodying the passion, what drives you and what the passion is all about. Now, if you're blogging, podcasting, whether you're going to be driving your own brand or whether you're going to be a TV star or TV host, and let's face it, there's not too many TV stars when it comes to finance. It's not the sexiest area of television, is it? You know, what have you guys got? Dave Ramsey and Sue Zorman, they're probably the two biggest names around the place. And they've been killing it, but they've been around forever. And it's quite hard to bust into that market when you've got these incumbents that have been doing these things for so long. And that's one of the challenges, is getting in front of people. So my passion is my kids. They're one of my drivers. I like to spend a lot of time with the children. And in spending time with the kids, how many of you have got kids? A lot of you. Kids are pretty time-consuming things, aren't they? And they suck up a lot of energy, not to mention money. So for me, it's about balancing lifestyle as much as it is about my profession. I like to drop them at school. I like to pick them up. I like to take my son to jiu-jitsu. I like to go surfing with them and those sorts of things. So we're trying to manage a financial planning and accounting business as well as the media and balance kids at the same time. So we've got so many things going on in our lives, and I'll talk about that very shortly. When I started out, there's a koala, you know, there's the Aussie theme. Sorry, I know, it's pretty cliched. When I read the Dina Katz book years ago, does anyone know Dina Katz? Anyone in financial planning here? A few of you know Dina Katz. Yeah, okay, cool. She's been around forever. Like, she's probably pretty old school these days in America, but she was an expert. And one of the first things she said in her book is to become an expert. So you've got to know your topics. And if you want to get into TV, you've not only got to know one particular topic, whether it's budgeting or frugality or whether it's retirement, but you've got to know something about everything. And you've got to keep across those other peripheral topics. So becoming an expert, donning the suit every now and then, is going to be really important. And I must say, it's nice to see people out of suits for the first conference I've ever been to, I reckon, where people can wear shorts and T-shirts. It's very cool. So becoming an expert was part of my written business plan back in 2004. And again, it goes back to that same philosophy of never having a question that I can't find out the answer to. Because what you find when you talk to yourself as being an expert is that you will go out and source the answer to the questions required. And when you're engaging with the media, they'll ring you up and they'll say, hey, Sam, we're doing a story on first home buyers. How can people get into the market? Now, I'm in the retirement market, so I'm not that engaged with first home buyers, but I can talk to them about interest rates and loan-to-value ratios and deposits and putting money down and all of the sorts of things that young people are going to need to balance to get their home deposit. So you need to be flexible, you need to be an expert, and you need to think about the peripherals around the various topics that you might be talking to clients about every day or talking to your user base every day. One of the most important things that I did, if not the most important thing that I did, was to write a book. And like a lot of the experts I've been listening to over the last day or so, they've got books. I'm fortunate enough to have a good publisher. I'm with John Wiley and Sons, who are probably the biggest publishers of business books in the world, certainly in America as well. And I've called the book The One Page Financial Plan. I know Carl Richards has got the same book name. If any of you know Carl Richards, this book came out 3 years ago. Just want to say that from the outset. Thank you, Carl. He is aware of my book as well because he was in Australia last year, so I made him aware. Sorry? Did he? Yeah, right. He's a nice guy. So this was a really important step for me, is writing a book. So you need to become an expert. You need to write a book. The traditional sources of media are still really important. So don't ever lose sight of television. If you're podcasting, if you're a blogger, don't lose sight of television, written media. You know, I write for Money Magazine. I write for the Australian version of the Wall Street Journal called the Australian Financial Review. You know, I spend a lot of time producing content. How many of you are writers? Or is everyone here a writer? It's exhausting, isn't it, writing stuff all the time? Like, I actually get exhausted from writing it. And every week I've got a column and I've got to write answers to people's questions. And every Sunday night, I always forget about it because I have too much fun on the weekends. And then you've got to write it at the last minute. It's exhausting producing so much original content, but it's part of the process. And writing a book is what kicks it off, because a book is like a brochure that you can hand out to the press. You can hand this to any producer of any TV show. So I was on the Today Show in Australia, which is exactly the same as the Today Show in America. Good Morning America, same sort of thing. When the producer calls and says, hey, can you answer a question on this? We go, yeah, no worries. Look, here's a chapter in my book about buying property or investing in property or investing in retirement. It is a physical brochure for what you do, okay? It's also something that will elevate you from being an average blogger, an average podcaster, to being an expert in your particular field. And it gets the phone ringing as well. So, looking at rocking your personal brand, what do rock stars do? I still don't think myself as a rock star, but nevertheless, they're original, they're innovative, they're cool, they're energetic, and they're unique. They stand out. Again, a book helps you stand out. Being an expert helps you stand out, because when the media wants to engage with you, they want someone that knows what they're talking about. They don't want someone average, they want someone that knows their stuff. Communicate, engage, and connect. You need to engage with the media, whether it's your local newspaper, whether it's a national newspaper, whether it's a local TV station or a national TV station. You need to engage, and specifically with the producers. So you need to find out who these people are. It's one of the most important tactical things that you can do, is to find out who produces it, who's the EP. Who's the executive producer on the TV show, and who are the producers that sit underneath them? They tour borders. Find out what other people are doing in your space. That's why us Aussies are over here, and there's quite a few Aussies here. We're a curious bunch. So the more we travel, the more we learn. The more we learn, the further we go, the greater we can progress in what we do and how we do it. Use the latest technology. I think most of you know how to do that, but you need to actually do it. There's a really big difference between knowing and doing. And this is what makes the difference between an expert and someone who's just average. And they look good. You've got to look reasonable. If you're going on telly, you can wear makeup. I remember I was like 3 years into my TV show and I'm sitting in the car putting makeup on my face. I thought, what the hell am I doing? I don't know how to put makeup on. I feel like a complete idiot here, but it's important, okay? I do a lot of surfing. I've got like spots on my face. You've got to wear makeup. You've got to do these sorts of things. It's very funny. Engaging with TV is really important. We heard one of the speakers, I can't remember her name now, I'm really sorry, but I think 2 or 3 talks ago in this very room, she was fantastic. Some of her tips are exactly the same as the tips I'm going to give you guys. Connect with the journalists, because TV leads, and then from TV comes journalism. So you'll find the national newspapers will respond to what's on the internet and what's in the newspapers, and vice versa. That's how they pick up your stories. So engage with the journalists. Literally find out. In the USA Today, the journalists that are writing stories today, and you can email them. But better, what I find, is Twitter message them. How often do you Twitter message your friends? Hardly ever. How often do you Twitter any of your followers? Very I do it infrequently, but I find by engaging the journalists through Twitter, they actually respond, and they respond pretty quickly as well. So email, I don't know how many emails you guys get, but I get hundreds a day. Like, I literally can't read them all. And I just go through and go delete, 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 delete. And that's the stuff that doesn't go to my junk email. So don't use email. Email is useless. These guys will literally get scores like 10, 20, 30 emails from people like us a week. So use Twitter message. For me, it's worked really well. Be prepared. The producers are going to ring up. They're going to want you to give a brief on the topic that they're going to be talking about. And you've got to know your stuff. Be reliable. You have to say yes. If the media ring up for a story, you've got to be there. I've got a little farm about 2 hours south of Sydney in Australia. And I was there with the kids, and the Today Show rings up and says, hey, can you do a story? We're doing a story on retirement. And the last thing I wanted to do was jump in the car and drive 2 hours north to Sydney. But you have to do that sort of stuff. So at 5 o'clock, you're driving with your eyes half shut. You got to say yes. Don't say, oh, no, I'm a little bit busy at the moment. Can we do it another day? They're not going to want to do that. They want to do it when they want to do it, and you need to be really flexible. And don't dribble. When you get on screen, don't tell them everything you know about a topic. It's really boring, and you won't get asked back. Okay? Keep it simple. Make everything that you do, whether you're blogging or podcasting or writing an article, you've got to keep it simple, because most people aren't experts. Most of your consumers are not experts in what they do, which is why they come to you in the first place. And always say thank you and let them know that you'll be available again. Okay, that follow-up is always really appreciated. And sometimes I'll ask for feedback as well. Is there anything else I can do for you? Is there anything else you want to know? Did I miss anything? Was that okay? Now, this is something that's very precious to me, is productivity. In today's world, when we get 100 or 200 emails a day, we've got messages coming in from Facebook, text messages, calls on your phone. People still make phone calls these days. We've got so many messages coming to us every day. We get really confused. We don't know what to look for. So productivity becomes really important. So you need to focus on the one thing in your day that's going to get you to where you want to be. If you want to be on TV, you need to spend some time. You need to invest some time to get in front of these producers. I spend 2 days in the office and work 3 days from home. Now, sometimes I call it working from home, sometimes I call it surfing from home, but either way, you need to take some time out to yourself. I only take client appointments on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I can be writing articles and content on the other days and following up with clients on their queries. So these Mondays and Tuesdays are usually pretty busy. I'm still a financial advisor, but I spend at least half my time working in the media. I do my preparation for my Thursday night show. I've got a show every Thursday night, which is live, and people ring in and ask questions on retirement. And it's good fun, great fun. It keeps you on your toes. You've got to be able to answer these questions literally live on the television, and it's great fun, but you need to be prepared. But I take 12 weeks off a year. Almost every year I fly to LA and then fly to Colorado, and then I go skiing in your beautiful mountains for about a month. You've got to be able to chill out. Do many of you take time out to chill out? I know you Aussies do. You're all chilling out last night. So our greatest resource is not money. Our greatest resource is actually time. Hopefully that's what you tell your clients and your consumers and your readers as well. So you've got to take time out for you. For me, that's surfing. For you, it might be something else. Spending time with the kids, hoping to take the kids to Disneyland early next year. Those sorts of things is how you need to spend your time, because, again, our greatest resource is not money, it's time. So you've got to focus on the things that you enjoy. Now, I don't need to tell you something you don't know, but mastering technology has been absolutely paramount to our success in the financial planning business. The idea is to become an expert, to write a book, to get in front of the journalists so we can write for Money Magazine, which I do every month, write for the Australian Financial Review, and we've got the TV show on Sky News Business every Thursday night. That was always part of the plan. Not that I knew how it was going to pan out, but the idea is to become an expert from the start, and that meant mastering technology. So the way we've set up our website, the way we run Infusionsoft, the way we obviously have WordPress, Infusionsoft, lead pages, and Google Analytics working, I can tell you how many hits we've had on the website in the last week. We had 6,500 hits on our website last week. We've been running some full-page newspaper ads back home, as well as a few TV ads on cable. And our analytics have gone like this. They've gone through the roof. But you need to be able to monitor that either on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis. Infusionsoft, they're a CRM, so that we use that for our email newsletters. They also call it Confusionsoft. It can be a little... Anyone here use Infusionsoft? Yeah, quite a few. It's pretty cool, but it's complicated. They have an Infusionsoft school, so you can learn how to use it. But we love it. You know, you can build campaigns, you can focus on different groups within your email newsletter list as well, and that's great. You know, the way people respond, you need to be focusing very much on your demographics. Lead pages, that's really for pop-up pages and literally taking leads off your website. So mastering technology has been absolutely paramount. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to the website. We have a lead magnet on the website, so we've got a free giveaway that people can download. It's 15 strategies to reduce your tax and boost your super. Super being superannuation, which again is like the 401ks. So very similar to what you guys do in terms of retirement. And something we have also found out that a lot of advisors, a lot of clients that have advisors actually make a good target for us to switch them out of their advisor into us because they're already engaged. You know, I don't know, in America, whether you talk about the 80% that aren't engaged, that's probably where your bloggers and your podcasters are trying to get these people engaged to become financial planning clients at some point in time. We've actually started targeting other clients, other advisors' clients, and that's been quite good. So all of that technology is based around our website. Your website's your main asset. Why is your website your main asset? Because you own the email list. One of the most important things we can do is list build. This is one of the reasons why I love Pat Flynn. How many of you like Pat Flynn here? Everybody? Yeah, he's a bit of a hero, isn't he? Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield. They're the two podcasts that I listen to religiously. Every week when they come out, I'll listen to those guys. And they've told me some great things about list building. And that's why we have the website with WordPress and Infusionsoft on it, because our aim is to continue to build that email list. So when we added pop-ups, how many of you hate pop-ups? All of us. We hate pop-ups, but they work. We went from 20 email newsletter sign-ups a week to over 120, and last week I think we had 600. So they work, all right? So if you're thinking about using pop-ups, use pop-ups. You just might need to use some discretion about how long you wait for the pop-up to come, maybe 30 seconds, whatever works for you. But they work. I always say manage your own money like a hero and not a rock star as well. You gotta live and breathe what you're talking about. So 7 tips to rock your personal brand. Embrace your why. That's your motivation. Your why is your motivation for getting up every morning, for writing the content and working as hard as you do. Educate yourself. Become an expert. Write a book. It's hard work to write 60,000, 100,000 words, but it's well worth it. You'll learn a hell of a lot about yourself and a hell of a lot about your topic. And you'll become a trusted voice in what you do. This is one of the most important things you can do. One of the best books I ever read, David Maister, I think it is, The Trusted Advisor. You should read that book if you're a financial advisor. Promote, connect and engage. Embrace technology. Manage your productivity. Okay, stay focused on what's going to generate revenue for you and what's going to give you the greatest satisfaction. And get help. You cannot do everything yourself. You can't do everything yourself. Some of you try to do that. Peter, you're one of those people, I know. You can't do everything yourself. There we go. Here are my contacts. Thank you very much for listening today. Hopefully it's added a little bit of value to your situation. And if I can help in any way, shape or form, please let me know. I'm not promoting anything here today. I'm not giving anything away. And I'm not selling anything. So I'm happy to help out if I can in any way, shape or form. Thanks very much for joining me. We've got about 2 minutes for questions. If anyone has any questions. Anyone? One question at the front. What did I do to become a better speaker? I've done a number of courses around that, and I've just kind of honed my skills over time. It's one of those things where I don't think I'm the world's greatest speaker. It's not something that I've spent a lot of time on, but I think if you're going to be in the public eye, you need to be pretty connected with who you are and what they're looking for. And I think that's part of speaking clearly and being able to articulate your message to your particular demographic. But if you're not confident in public speaking, go and get help. You know, one of the things that I wrote in point number 7, the top tips, is get help, because you can't do everything yourself. Get media training. If you're not media trained, even if you are media trained, get media training again. It'll really help you elevate yourself.